What's good, Joe? Black-atnd, we are back. Still season 8, episode 2 now. As always, my name is Isaiah.
I'm Tykiera.
This is Black-atnd. So we didn't do this last episode, but we're gonna be doing it this episode moving forward. Y'all make sure to please like, subscribe, and comment on this episode. We really do appreciate it. We do read all comments. We do read all feedback. We're gonna have our Google feedback form also in the description down below. Please check that out. We really want to make y'all part of the show. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into our black songs, black movies, you know.
Let's see it.
I can go first.
Yes, please go first.
My black song is a little inappropriate, but you know what I'm saying? It's the day after Valentine's Day, so I've been playing it, you know. You, Me, and He by Ball Greasy. He just dropped that song yesterday on Valentine's Day, part of his album, Bay Day 5. Fire song.
Right.
To be a one-woman man, let me show you. Listen, babe, I just wanna be your go-to. But first you gotta show me what you gon' do about me and him.
Right.
And my black movie of the week is American Fiction. American Fiction was a really good movie that focused on a lot of things in the black community, but one of the main things that was really interesting was the author found that being an ignorant black person would result in his books selling more because that's what white people craved, was seeing the ignorant black person.
Okay.
So, super good movie. I'll make sure y'all check that out.
I'd be standing outside in the night.
Deadbeat dads, rappers, crack. You said you wanted black stuff. That's black, right?
I see what you're doing. We sold your book.
No.
We believe Mr. Lee has written a bestseller.
It's a joke.
The most lucrative joke you've ever told.
Now, is Stag a pseudonym?
Yeah.
Mr. Lee can't use his real name.
Is this based on your actual life?
Yeah, you think some bitch-ass college boy can come up with that shit?
No, I don't.
Let's see. My song of the week would be 16 Carriages by Beyonce because she, smartly enough, released it right after the halftime show of the Super Bowl. I liked it much better than Texas Hold'em, whatever.
16 carriages driving away while I watch the ride with my fears away to the summer sunset on a holy night on a long back road. All the tears I find. $16 working all day, ain't got time to waste. I got art to make, I got love to create on this holy night.
Whatever. And then my movie, which is on theme for me personally this week, is The Wiz. Y'all gonna see this after, but I know BSA is going to have an amazing showcase that happens this weekend, actually tomorrow on Friday. And the theme is The Wiz. So y'all could definitely check that out online too. But yeah, so The Wiz is my movie.
Come on now, ease on down the road. Come on, ease on down the road.
Mama always be so proud going to see The Wiz.
When I wake up in the afternoon, what you please me to do. Don't nobody bring me no bad news. I wake up all better than negative, and I'm wired up my views. So don't nobody bring me no bad news.
Cool. So let's go ahead and hop into this episode. You know, this episode is very social media based on some stuff that's been going around on Twitter that I felt like was important because it also touched on topics of a larger, you know, more broad vicinity. So with that, there was this tweet that I saw by a man named Jake Shields, and I don't know too much about him, but I always see him in the MMA community talking about stuff over there because I'm real big on MMA. But I also see that sometimes he has some valid takes, but then some super crazy takes. And the take that he just had that kind of inspired this episode was the following tweet. Mr. Jake Shields said this: "Why did blacks get their own national anthem, but not Mexican, Asians, and Native Americans?" Now, for those of y'all that don't know, during the Super Bowl, before the game started, Lift Every Voice and Sing was sang. Do you remember who was sang by?
Andra Day, Andra Day.
It was a beautiful rendition of the song, but it started generating a lot of buzz, a lot of controversy. Why do black people have their own national anthem? Why is that being sang? So before we kind of get into that, I wanted to kind of answer that question.
Right.
Now, for those of y'all that don't know, the black national anthem was not given to us. It was created and established by us. Specifically, it was written as a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1900. It's referred to as a black national anthem, but the actual name of it is obviously Lift Every Voice and Sing. And the power that the song eventually held, and the reason why it was created outside of giving hope for black people, was essentially the lyrics, as is said in the NAACP website. The lyrics eloquently captured the solemn yet hopeful appeal for the liberty of black Americans. Set against the religious invocation of God and the promise of freedom, the song was later adopted by the NAACP and prominently used as a rallying cry during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. So,
We made our own song. Same as any other race can do, am I wrong? Right. And it just got recognized as a national anthem because it's something that all black people can feel connected to, whether past, present, and most definitely future. So that's why we have our own national anthem. We didn't ask, it wasn't given to us, we didn't ask for it, we made it, and we made it happen. And it spread throughout our community, and that's how it became known as our national anthem.
It was something that was created out of necessity. It was something that was needed for the black community. And I always hear, what if there was a white national anthem?
There is a white national anthem.
That is the national anthem. Like whenever we think of liberty and justice, whenever we think of
equality for all men are created equal. That is white.
So who did that apply to? It didn't apply to us as black people.
It sure didn't.
Especially also realizing that the national anthem, the United States national anthem, was written by a man that owned slaves. So I'm just saying, we
y'all have the Constitution written for white people, the Declaration of Independence, which was for us, but still wasn't even fully instituted until many years later. Y'all got all that stuff. Respectfully, the Asian Americans or Mexicans, I'm pretty sure it may not be known within more communities that one of their songs is a national anthem, but I know they have staples within their communities. Ours just so happens to be called a national anthem for black people because that's what we called it ourselves. America did not give that to us. We made it and made it happen.
Absolutely.
Period.
And to kind of get back into the tweet, like you said before, there's nothing stopping Mexican people from creating an American national anthem. However that would work.
The Mexican
national anthem, so I don't know what that really meant, but the Asian national anthem, there's Asian countries around the world that have their own national anthem, so there's also
there sure are.
If you want to kind of look at, Asian Americans, I'm not exactly, there's nothing stopping them from...
there's no obstacles. The biggest obstacle is you. If you want it to happen, you're going to make it happen, and that's what the black community did.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say. And within the tweet itself, blacks is an issue. I'm not messing with that.
I've always hated the term blacks. I feel like it's blacks,
those blacks over there. Yeah. No.
And it's crazy because I hear a lot of black people say it actually. I hear a lot of black people say the blacks.
Blacks,
like and I never really
blackies.
say much about it. I'm kind of you black, I guess you kind of have the wherewithal to say it.
But it's adding that S, something about that S. It's a little too massive.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. And the fact that it's on a tweet from a white man, no, disgusting.
I'm in the same boat. I want to get into another tweet that I also saw.
Oh, Lord.
On Twitter. So this tweet read something that was very, very interesting to me. There was a man, Sung Chul. I don't know if that's a bot. I know he had an AI profile picture, but whatever. Underneath the Jake Shields tweet, he replied saying that Asians don't cry screaming that we are victims. We move on, work hard, and don't bother others. And someone named Anthony responded by saying, no, you just go to court to argue that you should be considered legally white while my grandfather gets hosed down and attacked by dogs. Then you come back decades later to go to court to end affirmative action. Now that was a clapback vibe.
That right there, he ate with that one.
I like that. And we're not here, to create no hate between black people and Asian people.
Of course not.
Whatsoever.
Never.
But I do think that the man had a very valid point. And I think something else super interesting to me was I kind of started doing a little bit more research. And if I can find some of these court documents, I definitely will. But whenever he said that there were Asian people who were arguing in court to be considered legally white, he didn't just make that up.
No,
Real court documents.
that's
real
a
court
valid
cases
statement. I knew about that
in
one.
in which Asian people were trying to be considered white. And that actually extends to also Hispanic people. They're trying to get Hispanic to be considered to be legally white. As well as, I think there was an attempt to make Native American considered to be legally white, which is very interesting. But you never see that with black people.
I mean, well, we can't, no matter what. Yeah, I mean,
He gets a little ash in the knuckles and all, you know what I'm saying?
But that's just, like, the fact that the first tweet tried to take a shot at the black community without adding the black community, but we know who it was to, was ridiculous in itself. Basically saying all y'all do is boo-hoo cry, don't do nothing for yourself. Whereas my community, we just, like, I guess, brush it off our shoulder and move on, which, one, I know is not the case because I supported this movement, but there is the Stop Asian Hate movement. So if we want to say there's something like crying, that would be that. And then for the reply tweet, absolutely amazing, 10 out of 10. Everything he said was a factual statement that I agree with. Yeah, I don't know, just taking shots during black people during Black History Month, especially for things that, one, your statement has no, like, that was just a personal opinion statement, which by all means, freedom of speech, you say what you want to say. But especially on Twitter, if you're saying something that controversial, you better have something to back it up. And you didn't, so you got 8.
Period. But something that really stood out to me was that last part of the reply tweet talking about how Asian people went to court to strike down affirmative action. That was something that's been in the news very heavily, especially earlier this year, but also towards the end of last year. And that was something I felt like was important to kind of note as well because they, truthfully, a few representatives of the Asian community went to the Supreme Court arguing that they weren't getting into the top universities because they were getting passed up by unqualified black people, which somehow held up and allowed the overturning of affirmative action, which obviously it's been said that affirmative action actually benefited poor white women a lot more than it did black people. But whenever we look at the actual implications of what affirmative action was used for, was implemented for, I feel like that was important to kind of note as well. And there was one more thing in that original tweet, not the Jake Shields tweet, but the Sung Chun, whatever his name was. That was very interesting to note was so that Asians don't scream victims, but they work harder. They make a way for themselves. That was interesting to me because I remember last year we were watching the movie Do the Right Thing in one of my film classes, and one of the points that comes up is that the Koreans in this all-black neighborhood were able to come in, move in, and establish a successful business in quicker time than the black people who've lived in that same community for generations have been able to. And I always wondered, how do you always see a lot of Asian-owned stores in black communities? How do you see a lot of Asian immigrants come to the United States and immediately they're successful business owners? I never knew the answer to that question until I came to one of my classes taught by Professor Scott Barton here at the University of Notre Dame. He talked about the reason why that's the case is because they're not coming here with nothing. They're backed by syndication in their home countries most of the time, which essentially provides them the upfront money as a loan to start a business. They give them all the money that's required for the materials, for whatever it is their business ends up being.
Right.
And then from there, all they have to do is just run it. But they're getting that upfront help in order to make it possible, which is something black people don't get. That, to me, was very interesting. And so it's not to say that Asian people don't work hard, because they absolutely do. I believe a lot of people work hard.
Right.
But I also feel like when it comes to some, the Asian immigrants, for example, they have a much easier time getting their life started in the United States than someone who has been in the United States for decades and centuries when we look at generations.
And even say they aren't immigrants. At the end of the day, it will be much easier for the Asian community to make way and pave through various things in the black community. I do not want to compare minority groups whatsoever. I don't do that. But realistically, at the bottom of the barrel, are the black individuals. So whether you're starting off with money or not, could be the both poorest of the poorest Asian and poorest of the poorest black American, whatever. It's going to be easier for the Asian American to establish themselves quicker and faster than the black American. That's
There's a lot that goes into that. Maybe we can get in a little deeper. Obviously, like
it's a bit more statistical type of.
Compare minorities and whatnot. I definitely feel like it's an important conversation to have because we always see black people being called lazy and why can't you be like these people? These people are able to do this, establish themselves in significantly less time.
Right.
But people don't really understand all the barriers and obstacles that black people face that oftentimes prevent us from actually being as successful as we could potentially want to be.
Yeah.
I thought that was important. There's one final tweet that I wanted to kind of hit on. I wanted to save this one for last, because this one was
Completely outrageous.
very outrageous, but I also felt like it spoke to the way in which society is right now. It kind of spoke to how society is operating at the moment. So with this tweet, we're going to put it up on the screen as we will for the other tweets, but this tweet was really interesting to me because it was a screenshot of this, I believe, a man who was sending his child to school and they were having a black author read a book. And in order for the child to attend that event, which was an important event, something that was necessary for all of them,
Right.
they had to sign a permission slip, similar to how we would sign permission slips to go on field trips.
Field
back in the
trips.
day. Now it's a field trip just to go hear a black perspective. And this is in Florida.
And it's one which makes a lot of sense. Miami, Florida itself needs a lot of help. It's one thing, I guess, if the black speaker was there, like say it was like a keynote speaker type thing. You don't know what they're gonna say, so yeah, cool. They're reading a book. I've never in my life had to have a permission slip signed by my mother to go to a quick little 30-minute story time event for someone to read a book. That's absolutely ridiculous. Why? Well, I know why, because Florida's going through all that, removing black history from the classrooms and all that stuff.
We saw in, I believe, 28 public universities in Florida, state universities in Florida, they took out all DEI programs.
The way we are taking steps backward in time, leaps backward, is absolutely ridiculous. Was it in elementary school? Or like middle school or something?
I believe so, elementary school.
Elementary school? That's how young you want to start this stuff? It makes no sense to me. There's no legitimate reason as to why you're sending your kid to school with the permission slip signed by you, allowing them to just hear someone read a book to them.
I agree, and it's so interesting to me because I've heard a lot of Republican and conservative rhetoric that kind of talks about how we don't want to indoctrinate our young children from an early age to think a certain way. And I spoke about this. I can't remember if it was with you or with Rizzolo, but I spoke on this before of how my first racist encounter occurred when I was in the 2nd grade. So racism begins early and it's taught early. So in order to curb that racism, you have to have
combat it with learning.
Exactly, and education is the way to do that because the only way to get a young child to understand that their parents are brainwashing them into thinking some of the most racist and vile rhetoric known to man is by teaching them with actual documents and facts and sources.
Right.
That no, what they're telling you was wrong, and here's what's actually right. But to see that something as simple as is going to a read aloud event in Florida, and I'm not surprised, like you said, it's Florida. I wouldn't be surprised if there's stuff like that going on in Texas, my home state. 'Cause I know we're right on par with Florida.
Arizona, not too far behind.
See, that's something you could talk about in the future episode. I mean, it's ridiculous to see how far back we're truly going, and it makes me think about how our ancestors and even the leaders of the civil rights movement, they fought so hard to get us where we were, only for their work to be slowly eradicated, to be slowly reversed. And that, to me, it's disgusting. I feel like it's vile. I feel like it's something that needs to be more than just addressed. Because I feel like we always say, we have to address this issue. I feel like we've addressed the issue so much.
You can only talk so much.
Exactly. At what point and what steps can we take to actually implement things that would reverse this? I know I always hear people say, go out and vote. And voting is very important. I know we have this election season, election year.
Oh, I'm so scared.
There's two candidates that I think almost all of Americans agree that they don't want either candidate, regardless of if you have supported Trump in the past. I've heard a lot of Trump supporters say they don't want Trump in office again. And a lot of Democrats don't want Joe Biden back in office again. And so it kind of comes down to at what point does voting, truly help us? It would, that's not to say that it's useless, because it's absolutely useful. I mean, we see we keep on voting Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott into office, and we see what they're doing. So it's obviously important to go out and vote.
Right.
But at the same time, whenever we have candidates who we just can't get down with because they have just ideologies that are just so out there, or they are having issues with their age. I mean, both of the candidates are super old.
They old.
And even in our local politics, which are the more important aspects of voting, a lot of the times, a lot of us don't even know where to look when it comes to local politics, and some of us just have no idea what's even going on in our local politics.
At all.
It's something that I believe is purposely left out of education, for specific reasons.
Most definitely. I did not know anything about local politics until I got to college and was able to vote and had to do my own research, because they don't teach you that in school. Like real world things, respectfully, you don't get taught. Say it here and now, especially when it comes to voting. All they tell you is, yes, it's good for you to vote because that's the way your voice gets heard. How you do that, where you go to look to get factual information, you don't know. So it's the education system as a whole, in terms of the entire U.S., absolutely trash. And then we have the specific places like Florida who are just
in the gutter.
Past the gutter. They down there. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Of course, I know it's old white men who coming up with this stuff, which is also another thing that we could talk about, because the positions of power in this country are still just lean toward the one side, but
towards old white men. Yeah.
Towards old white men who are, one, I know were raised in a less welcoming environment. That's just because of the times that it was. So the perspective, no matter how much they tried or don't try, that's still somewhere ingrained in them. So it's just, I don't know, it's all just ridiculous. I'm scared to raise my children in this country. I don't know where the U.S. is going. It's sad.
It's very sad. It's sad to see, all the tweets really reflect how society is operating. And I think that the last tweet that we just showed about what's going on in the school in Florida, I think it's a reflection of society as a whole. It's a reflection of where we're going and what's been leading us down that road. And I feel like we need to do more, and I feel like we just really need to figure out how can we go about doing more, because a lot of us as just regular people, is not too much that we can necessarily do outside of going out to vote, protest. But then we see whenever black people protest, they're called thugs and they're pepper sprayed and shot with tasers and shot with guns.
Whether it's peaceful or not, you get met with the same result.
Every single time.
Every time.
So, we definitely have to figure something else out. And I think we can definitely touch on that in the future episode. And we know we kind of rushed through this episode a little bit. We had time constraints, and then we got to go to a little rehearsal for the fashion show.
Yeah.
PSA, the Wiz Showcase. So,
right.
But we'll definitely be coming back heavy with another episode. It's going to be touching on a lot of different issues. We have a lot of great content that's going to be planned for y'all this year. And I think one thing that I really want to implement with Black-atnd, I want us to be a bit more real. I feel like sometimes we're real, but we kind of hold back some of the things that we truly
That's
feel.
true. I'll say that.
And I definitely think that I want to come heavier.
Time to just take the whole top off?
Yeah. I want to come a lot heavier. I want to come a lot harder.
I mean, I'm going to leave my mark. I graduate this semester, okay? I'm going to say what I got to say. Y'all going to hear it, too.
Just know if Notre Dame takes us off the air.
If y'all don't see us no more, y'all know where we be at, okay?
It's our own thing, But we're not going to be going crazy like that, to get canceled. But I feel like there's a lot more that we can say. So y'all stay tuned. We're gonna be coming heavier. But with that, do you have any sort of lasting message that you want to leave?
I'm just disappointed. Point blank, period. That's all I gotta say about that.
I'm in the same boat. I'm also disappointed. I try to be hopeful for the future, but we see the way that things are going.
This future looking dim.
Seems like a very pessimistic future.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. But at least we'll continue to do our due diligence, talking on these things. Because I'm sure most of y'all probably have not heard or seen those tweets. So we're going to keep on doing our job. But we want to do more than just talk. We really want to be about that action too. So y'all stay tuned with that. But with that being said, we love y'all. We thank y'all for y'all support. We see our subscriber count going up, and we like that. And we want to see our views go up too. So y'all make sure y'all share. This is what, like, comment, subscribe, but also share these episodes out to everyone that you know. We really do appreciate being able to expand our fan base, being able to expand our reach and our audience, our viewership. So keep that in mind. But as always, y'all, we love y'all. Black is beautiful. Black is love. Black is excellence. We out, y'all. Yeah.
Yeah.